Hey, friends, I am so excited to share that Feedback Now and Stone Mantle are giving away a free pilot program to bring your real time data idea to life. We get it. We know there's a lot of clutter in experience data and how hard it can be to pinpoint the real issues. That's why we're excited to introduce you to Feedback Now, the world's best company for real time feedback. They process over 130 million customer opinions every year in over 50,000 unique locations around the world. Companies who use Feedback Now see an average increase in satisfaction of 15% in just 6 weeks. They are the real-time choice for sentiment data collection for some of the world's best airports, retailers, and hospital systems. Why? Because they don't just capture immediate customer sentiment. They help you see the patterns in your data. No amount of AI can compensate for not having real customers giving you real-time insights into your experience. That's what Feedback Now with a little assistance from Stone Mantle does. Want us to help you with your real-time data idea? Just go to their website, which we've listed in the show notes, share your idea for a project, and we'll reach right back out to you. Welcome to the Experience Strategy Podcast with Joe Pine, author of The Experience Economy and lots of other best-selling books. Dave Norton, an experienced futurist and founder of Stone Mantle, and me, Aranza Savas, an expert in coaching, motivation, and behavior change. Each week, we bring you a trending story from the news and share our hot takes. Today, we are poking at The Diary of a CEO, the top-ranking podcast hosted by Stephen Bartlett. And I think that's his name. Yes, the Stephen Bartlett, talking to Mo Gadot, who is the former chief business officer at Google X and one of the world's leading voices on AI, happiness, and the future of humanity. In a recent episode, they sat down for 2.5 hours.
Long.
It's a really long podcast. I will admit, I listened to the entire thing. It was pretty captivating, and I have lots of thoughts. But we will not bring you a 2.5 hour breakdown of it. We will bring you a 20, maybe 25 minutes if we get crazy discussion of it. In short, Mogadad is sounding the alarm. The headline on the episode kind of tells you everything you need to know. It says that there will be the next 15 years will be hell. Basically, he's saying that we're about to enter a 15-year dystopia that will change everything, but yay, will be followed by a brilliant utopia and a return to the existences of our great-grandparents. I don't know.
Because we'll
His
all be
reflection on history and what my great-grandparents were doing was a lot more romantic.
Then what?
Than what I think the reality of it was. I was like, his great grandparents were not migrant farmers.
Yeah. You're
Right.
Anywho.
I made a key observation that in the long run, we'll all be dead.
That's right. Come what may. So really interesting conversation. Definitely worth listening to. Dave picked this topic and he picked it after writing a
But blame
critique.
Dave if you don't like this episode. Sorry. Go ahead.
What? I didn't hear what you said
I
there.
said blame Dave if you don't like this episode.
That's right.
Right, exactly.
He wrote a critique of this, and I'll be honest, I intentionally didn't read it because I wanted to hear his thoughts live and in person with you today to keep it real. So, Dave, you're kicking us off today. What bugged you about Mo's predictions?
Well, I mean, his whole approach to history and to the future is kind of that classic techno extremism that I think we've gotten kind of used to over the years, where the whole world is going to be destroyed by technology. And by the way, I do think that society does change because of technology. That's very much the case. but this extremism where society collapses, um, everything has to change, is problematic. And I think he kind of realizes that, and he kind of backs off a little bit. The reason why that in and of itself frustrated me, but the reason why I thought this podcast needed to take it on is because, Joe, you're making an argument that the future is transformations, that the economy is going to be driven by transformations, and uh, and here's an argument that says that there isn't going to be an economy, basically, that everything is going to be free, or we're going to get this base income kind of socialism type of an approach to things. And basically, we're going to spend all of our time painting and talking to our kids. Like that's basically what his argument is, but only after 15 years, during which time there's going to be war and famine. Like, that's
I have to say though, I heard this so differently.
okay.
Based on what he's investing in, which is transformation, right? He's investing in
Emma
companies.
Love. What
Yep.
was it, like? Emma Love was his thing or something like
I
that?
think Emma or Hannah maybe is the name of his wife. Anyway, he's working on a company that is intended to deepen and sustain love and relationships. I think combating loneliness, working toward more intimacy and connection. And I mean, really, and he talks about like billionaires understand that we are going to, in this dystopian and finally the utopian, have a bit of a time glut. So our relationship to time value will shift. And he said they're investing in experiences, sports, entertainment, games. And he's really focused on transformation. And so I listened to it and I was like, oh, Mo read Joe's book, because he definitely references over and over again the economic progression. And I think he sees that the near future, anyway, is transformation, which is what we're talking about. We're talking about the next 15 years. We're not talking about, Joe's book is not talking about what's going to happen in 50 years or 30 years.
Now.
Now,
what's,
yeah.
what's happening now, right?
Right,
Exactly.
right. Which
So
I
that
think is what
will
Mo is seeing
continue
too.
Joe, do you want to weigh in, or do you want to wait a minute? Because
Do you want us to just keep
Go ahead,
talking
Daniel.
about you?
I just disagree because, first of all right, the other thing that piqued me, you tell me, Aransas, whether you agree with this or not. First of all, his whole argument is that there's not going to be enough work for people to do.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, there's going to be mass layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And knowledge workers, which have been have been kind of the linchpin of the service economy, the experience economy, are going to be laid off in mass because they're just not going to be smart enough to be useful. Okay, and therefore they're not going to be able to pay for anything. So the government's going to have to pay them, and there will be those that drive Ferraris, and there will be those that don't, or else everyone gets Ferraris. And to me, that argument is so problematic. There's lots of problems. First of all, and I think Stephen Bartlett did a good job of challenging him on this. First of all, before there was social media, there were no social media jobs, managers. Bartlett points that out. And it was supposed to be the end of journalism. It's true, many journalists did lose their jobs, but many of them started podcasts. And they're actually making more money.
A couple of them.
A lot of them have. What I see is that there's going to be new jobs that are going to be created. Lots of new jobs. The other thing that bothered me is he basically said that 99% of people really don't want to work. Only 1%. of
Yeah.
people
I
want to work.
disagree with that as
That
well.
was craziness. I mean, I
I
don't.
think, though, if you take a global view, which is what he was trying to do there, he was saying, if you look in, okay, yes, in America, it's probably higher. It's a capitalist society. We were trained that our intrinsic worth is dependent on our earning power, our ability to provide for our families, to feel special and important and smart through our financial impact, right? Through our raises and our titles. I think he's right, though. If you zoom out and you look at other cultures, that is not true across the world. And so I think he was making that point globally. I agree, though. In the US, that is not the answer at all. There's many more. I mean, all of our data points to the fact that a deep sense of meaning is driven by professional success.
Exactly. It's not. That's not a U.S. thing. I mean,
No, I
It's a
don't.
it's
capitalism
inherent
thing
to what it means to be human.
that
I think it's.
you
I
have
agree with
People
Joe.
purpose.
get dignity out of work. They get meaning out of work, and it's an ill of other places that don't have our ethic that they're losing out on that aspect. They're not gaining anything by not
No.
working hard and by not finding meaning in it.
Yeah, I find it like it's it's a it's a scary trope to go after Aransas, because if you pull on that thread, basically what you're saying is other people are lazy. And that's
Mhm.
not what
Right.
we want to be arguing at all. And that's
No.
basically what he was saying. But that's for our
I didn't
podcast.
hear
That's
that. I heard him
for
saying, and what I believe is human beings need purpose.
okay.
We
I
find purpose through employment, many of us, and through our families. But frankly, many people find more purpose through their employment. I don't know that that is true the world over. I thought that 1% was shocking too. I think though
but
this.
here's how it relates to our podcast here for a second, because we're
Oh,
getting
is this still the Experience Strategy
yeah.
podcast? What? Don't be weird.
Okay. Oh no, I lost my train of thought. So give me just a half
Pull us
second. I'll
back
cut it
into
out.
it. Pull us back
Pulling the
in.
threads.
Yeah. So um, there's a lot of people right now who are very concerned that they're going to lose their job to AI. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
that's a
rightly so.
real that's a real issue. And one of my arguments has been, and by the way, we have been talking about AI since, like I keep bringing this up, since 2017, we've been talking about it, talking about how experience strategy has to change. So we've been talking about things like you need to understand situational markets. Well, with AI, you can really start to understand situational markets. The thing that we're talking about this year in the collaboratives is you need to have a strategic point of view. We talked about the fact that AI is always going to come up with the best average answer, because it's based on an LLM, and it's going to always come up with the best average answer. So if you as a knowledge worker, your only contribution is to come up with the best average answer, then yeah, you're probably going to be out of a job. But if you have a strategic point of view, you can leverage technology and help your company to differentiate. What I like the idea, become more compelling than differentiation, but become more compelling. So, and strategic point of view is not the best possible answer. It is something a little bit different. It is something that is very human and very framework oriented. And I think that
I actually
there,
think Mogadad is doing an excellent job of what you're saying.
well, he is. He
He
is.
has a
He's
strategic
creating a
point of
point of view.
view. He's
He
got a
is.
framework.
He is.
It's compelling.
He is. And he's got a
Yes.
job because
And
of
he's
it.
got a job. Mm-hmm.
Because of it. And that's what more people need to do. Joe has a point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Joe's point of view is built on a framework that he discovered, and it's working. That's the other thing, is it's actually got to work.
Mm-hmm.
I was going
So
to mention that too. It's got to be a good point. It doesn't have to be, there isn't one right strategic point of view, but it's got to be a good point of view. There's a lot of
right.
companies that have bad strategic points of view.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more experienced strategists should be focused on how do I develop my strategic point of view and less on how do I measure CX? How do I do a journey map? Those types of activities, they'll still play a role,
Well,
but
they're helpful in figuring out your point of view.
they they could potentially be inputs into it done properly. I agree with you there. And I just got the feeling that Mo's point of view doesn't doesn't allow for any of that because basically AI will do all of that better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. There's something inside of me that says that that's not the case.
Mm.
What?
Well, I've been enjoying just leaning back and listening to you go at it, you two. But I'll say that that part of what he's saying is a strain of thought that, in fact, goes back. Didn't realize this when we started, to John Maynard Keynes, right? The early and mid-century economist, last century, most famous one, who also thought that work would go away, not go away, but it would lessen. That we would have much more leisure time in that. There are a ton of people that view that as a very positive thing. My friend Ben Honeycutt at the University of Iowa wrote a book on the age of experience, and a previous book also that talked about about the struggle for more leisure that unions try to do, get away from 6-day work weeks down to 5-day work weeks and so forth, and that what a great benefit that would be is they could then pursue leisure in its highest sense, from dating back to Greek philosophers, about bettering people's lives, and not anticipating, of course, the rise of doom scrolling and TV and all this stuff that often wastes our time relative to such pursuits at that. And so that strain of thought has sort of been around almost forever. But as you say, Dave, this is not the first time the technologist said this technology is different. This is the first time that, in fact, it will not create more jobs than it eliminates. And I think, like every single other technology in the entire history of the world, it's wrong. It will create more jobs. There will be.
We just can't see what they are yet.
Yeah.
Yes, we
nor could they with the advent of the steam engine.
Right. But they will increasingly be around experiences and transformations. Right, I can tell you that, right? And not goods and services. Goods and services have largely been automated, but the automation of them creates far more jobs. There's always tremendous economic dislocations, right? Because the people that have the new jobs are not the same people who lost their jobs, right? And so that is an issue that needs to be addressed. But one fundamental thing is that I've said for a long time, that we really shouldn't even think about it as AI. It's not artificial intelligence. It's IA. It's intelligent augmentation. Right. What it does is allows people to do things better, allows knowledge workers to do things better. And I have read things from like Tom Davenport and others, who's just a wonderful thinker on AI and technology. He's got a great Substack as well on this. And now I've lost my train of thought, but that there is this view that it eliminates jobs, and one of the keys is that if people believe what Mo is saying and others that are saying, that in fact CEOs and others will be prematurely getting rid of people, assuming that the benefit. I think we've already seen some of that. They're prematurely getting rid of people, not recognizing the value of helping those people do their jobs better rather than trying to automate them out of existence. And again, in experiences and transformations, there's so much that AI can do in helping that and helping people understand who they are in creating, little mini-me's of themselves that can make recommendations on what you should do, but then experiences and transformations are fundamental. Like, unless you believe the Matrix that's the way to have experiences, right? Are fundamentally
that's what he believes is possible. That's where he kind of started to lose me. He's like, maybe we're all in a simulation right now. I'm pretty sure we are, and I was like, I'm not ready to go there. I'll tell you though, one of the things I think that is super problematic related to transformation in his work is that transformations require hope. I have to believe that change is possible in order to have a transformation. He paints a pretty hopeless and bleak story. It is not, it is demotivating for anyone to do anything to counteract the problem, to relitigate the solution. And I think he is actually the fact that this is going viral. That is my biggest concern about this, is that the virality of this deepens this already pervasive sense of hopelessness in the US specifically and somewhat globally. And it says, you're screwed, kids. Buckle up,
Yeah.
get ready to suffer. Bummer. Maybe your grandchildren will be here and it'll be good for them. But
So
basically,
why have children if this
all
is
hope is lost.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, who is having children anymore?
It sort of is off topic, but
Dave's family.
the lack
Right.
of having children is the biggest problem facing the world today. Period.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So, but
s-
okay, a couple of other things related to this, all right, that I've been thinking about. One is um, the last mile issue. So he argues that everything's going to be automated and that the intelligence and it'll be smarter. We've heard these arguments before, but we have seen with technology that there is this last mile issue. Okay, and what I mean by this is, they talk about how expensive it is to do the last mile of sending out cable, right? It's really, really hard. It's very, very expensive, but the same
I need you to
principle.
explain that better. I'm not following you on that.
Okay, so we've heard people talk about, like, why is it that you can't get fiber optics? Well, why is it that fiber optics are so expensive going into old neighborhoods? And it's because that last mile, there's all kinds of complexity associated with it. It's like really easy to run the fiber optics along the highway, but once you go into the neighborhood, it becomes really, really expensive. Okay, there's lots of problems, and you got to get permission from all kinds of different people. That's what last mile means. All right, and the same thing applies when you check in for your flight. When you're going on a flight. Yeah, there's a lot of times where things can be automated, but you still have people there who are trying to help you make sure that your bags actually get to the location that you're trying to get to. All these years later, it's been 30, excuse me, it's been 30 years that we've had some kind of virtual check-in, starting with Morris Travel, that then became Southwest, and so forth. And we still have people who are taking care of that last mile. And I think the same thing will be true for intelligence as well, because AI doesn't just do brilliant things, it also hallucinates.
Right.
On a regular basis, somebody has to pay attention to that fact. On top of that, who do we hold accountable when things go wrong? And things will go wrong. So he talks about how CEOs don't realize that they're going to be replaced as well. But who's going to be held accountable when things break? Not the AI. That doesn't make any sense. So there's lots of reasons to believe that people are going to be very, very important, and that a lot of people are going to be needed in order to make the experience actually work. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, maybe these low birth rates just lead to a smaller population, and that's how we end up with fewer jobs, right? Because he's saying you don't need 50 accountants anymore. You need two plus a really great AI. And so maybe the world's population does become smaller. And that's part of how this problem resolves.
Maybe. I don't
That's
think
not
so.
experience strategy either, but
People, that's a common mistake. People, John Simon, showed this account in other comments, right? People are resources.
Mhm.
They're not costs. They're not a
cost
detraction.
centers.
They are on net resources. And
Yeah.
the fewer people you have, the less innovation you have. The less innovation you have, the poorer you are. The poorer you are, the fewer people you have. I mean, literally, there was a article in the Wall Street Journal a week, 10 days ago that showed the bell curve of population, right? Going, and it's a very steep bell curve going up to around about 2070, where it peaks. You know where it goes back down to zero? 2700. It does not take long. I mean, it's not zero. It's just millions that are living more of a subsistence living, and we need that to continue to grow. And and the U.S. we're now down to 1.6 kids per couple, which and replacement is 2.1. We're only continue to grow because of immigration, and others are down to far below that. Korea, 1.1, Japan 1.2. It's just like unbelievably how few kids there are. And those are societies that don't like immigration. They're just culturally are against immigration. I mean, effectively, Japan and Korea are basically dead in 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what do we think experienced strategists should take from this? I mean, we did hit the 25-minute mark, so we could just say this is over. Go listen to it. Tell us what you think.
You got to bring it home again, Dave. So for experienced strategy, how do we need to think about this?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to be thought about. First of all, I think the future is bright. And I think that what will drive the economy, first of all, I don't think that AI is going to make people rich. Maybe a few people, but it's not going to make most people rich. No technology historically has made most people rich. What it's going to do is enable people to do things. And I hope that Joe's version of history, of the future, is actually the version that we go to, where people are willing to pay for transformations. I think Mo Gadot is saying that they're going to get their transformation for free.
Right, exactly.
And that society is going to pay for it. And that's not a recipe for innovation. It's just not. It's a recipe for something else. So if I were an experienced strategist today, what I'd be focusing on is how do I leverage technology to help me develop a point of view that makes me much more valuable to the company that I'm working for. That's what I would be focusing on.
Yeah. I think it is also learning AI. I think there are so many people right now who are resisting it. And she who understands it best will have the most success influencing it, creating her space. And so I do think it is to lean into the power. We're not going to go backwards. I've said this time and time again. There has never been a time in history where we've opened up Pandora's box and then closed it again. So we might as well embrace the power and choose how we use it.
I think for the next episode, Arances, you need to review what you just said there and turn it into a rap. I mean, it was good. It was right. That's right. I mean, it rhymed.
I've got a whole dance.
She's a lyricist.
That's right. Welcome to my new play. This was fun, guys. Thanks to Diary of a CEO for hosting such a stimulating conversation. Thanks to all of you for listening. Let us know your thoughts. Clearly, we're still sorting out ours on this topic. You can find us over at The Experienced Strategist on Substack. And of course, Joe and I are also there on other Substacks as well. So lots of thoughts to share. Come find us there.